Monopolies. A pure monopoly is an industry with a single firm that produces a product for which there are no close substitutes, and in which significant barriers to entry prevent other firms from entering the industry to compete for profits. An example of a firm and industry that is a monopoly is BC Hydro. There is one firm in British Columbia in the industry. The industry sells electricity. They are price setters, which means that they determine the price of their product. They determine the price of their product since they are the only company that provides power. They are able to set their prices to whatever they choose since consumers have no other firms to choose from. Industries that are monopolies, oligopolies, or monopolistic competition are price setters, whereas industries in perfect competition markets are price takers. Like other market structures, in the short run, a firm should not produce if the total variable cost exceeds revenue. If it is worthwhile for the firm to produce at all, the firm should produce at the output at which marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Here's a graph that shows what a profit looks like in a monopoly market structure. Since we want to produce at the point in which MR equals MC, looking at the graph, MR equals MC at Q1 units and at a price of $11. Looking at the graph, the company covers the average total cost for producing Q1 units when they sell the product for $12. The demand curve tells us that consumers are willing and able to pay $15. Since the company would be covering the average total cost at $12, but selling the product for $15, the company would be making a profit. Here is a graph that shows what a loss looks like in a monopoly market structure. Since we want to produce at the point in which MR equals MC, looking at the graph, MR equals MC at Q1 units and at a price of $8. Looking at the graph, the company covers the average total cost for producing Q1 units when they sell the product for $15. The demand curve tells us that consumers are willing and able to pay $12 for Q1 units. Since the average total cost is $15, but the company is selling the product for $12, the company is experiencing a loss. Here is a graph that shows what breaking even looks like in a monopoly market structure. Since we want to produce at the point in which MR equals MC, looking at the graph, MR equals MC at Q1 units and at a price of $10. Looking at the graph, the company covers the average total cost for producing Q1 units when they sell the product for $15. The demand curve tells us that consumers are willing and able to pay $15. Since the company would be covering the average total cost at $15, while it is selling the product for $15, the company is breaking even, which means they are not making money, but they are not losing any money. In the long run, monopolies can maintain making profits due to the high entry barriers that prevent competition. BC Hydro uses entry barriers to protect their profits. An entry barrier is an impediment that prevents entry of new firms into an industry. Natural entry barriers commonly arise as a result of economies of scale and other cost advantages enjoyed by industries that have large capital requirements. Created entry barriers are created by governments or professional organizations. As well, created entry barriers could be threats of cutting prices or heavy brand name advertising by existing monopolies. BC Hydro is a natural monopoly. This occurs when the industry's demand conditions allow no more than one firm to cover its costs. BC Hydro owns all of the resources for power in BC, which makes it nearly impossible for any other company to set up their own power transmissions. Also, the setup cost is so large that the entry into the industry would be unprofitable. These are examples of natural barriers BC Hydro uses. BC Hydro is a crown corporation, which means that it's partially owned and operated by government. This is a created entry barrier. If a new firm did manage to join the industry, they would be unprofitable due to the high setup costs, and they would not be supported by the government.